Alright, this is John Cullen with OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you. And in this episode, what I'll be doing is I'll be showing you guys 2 essential appliances you should own if you want to eat a raw foods diet, or even just a healthy plant-based diet. Or even if you're just on a standard American diet and you want to eat healthier. Even somebody like my brother that maybe still eats out at Chipotle and Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's, right? He has both a blender and a juicer that allows him to get more fruits and vegetables in. He'll generally use a blender because it's a lot easier. He won't use a juicer as much, but in my personal opinion, the juicer, especially for my brother who's not even eating that healthy, is a better appliance to own. And in this episode, I'll show you guys my tips and techniques and the reasons exactly why these 2 items are essential on any diet for that matter. Alright, the first thing I will say for those of you guys that don't know me is I've been on a raw food, fruit and vegetable dominated plant-based diet now for the last 25 years. You know, I started juicing and blending back when I started my raw foods diet, or lifestyle actually, more appropriately. And I believe these 2 appliances to be essential to your health. So I know what you're thinking, John, you're that guy that makes over 600 videos on YouTube that talks about comparing juicers and even blenders against each other, because actually you sell them. So that's why you're promoting them, man. You sell them, so you're trying to get some money out of me. So here's the thing, my goal is not to make the most money in the world. One of my major goals that even is more important than just money, which is really fiat cash, which is a whole different topic because it's not even backed up by gold, and the government just seems to magically print trillions of more dollars and rail us more into debt. And meanwhile, all us, we have to balance our checkbooks and we can't go negative or we're going to go bankrupt. The government can. And so it's only the value we place on the money, but that's a whole different topic I'm not going to get into. But my goal is actually to share what I've learned with others so that others can eat more fruits and vegetables and get healthier, because I've had to turn my life around. I almost lost my life when I was younger. Happily, and I see this happily now, that I had a life-threatening illness that I was hospitalized with when I was younger, and I was required actually to make some changes in my life, or I might not be sitting here talking to you today. And I think it is really unjust and unfair that we are not taught about how to eat properly, eat the best foods on the planet, and how we're promoted to eating all these fast foods, the junk foods, the processed foods, the high animal foods diet, all these things that could really dig your health in the ground. And that is the injustice that I stand against. And I want to give you guys the truth that I've come up with, also as based on a lot of different scientific studies that I've read. And what they say is simply this: most people are never going to deny that vegetables are a bad thing unless you're saying the oxalates or the lectins or, you know, some other different, you know, goitrogenous, properties in them are bad. So the solution is just choose a different vegetable. But here's the thing, the vegetables, especially the sprouts, the microgreens, and the leafy greens are the most nutritious foods on the entire planet. They provide you the least amount of calories and the most health benefits. The isothiocyanates in the broccolis, the anthocyanins in my purple, kale, and the lycopene in tomatoes, and all the different colors of the vegetables, and beta carotene or the provitamin A in the carrots, and the purple pigments, in the different foods that give us health benefits. These are all in the vegetables and the fruits. And so we want to maximize our consumption of those specific foods above all else. Even if you're eating a raw foods diet, even if you're eating a plant-based diet, even if you're eating a standard American diet, it's even more important, in my personal opinion, if you're eating a standard American diet, to ramp up the healthy foods to help offset the bad foods. Of course, my choice is just to, why even bother and waste your time with calories and putting garbage in your body that now your body has to deal with, because it's not always about what you're adding, but it's also about what you're taking out of your diet so that you guys can get good results. And that's where really the machines allow you to get more in. Now, yes, I'm a big advocate of using our best blender and juicer in the whole entire world, which is our teeth. And while some people in different raw food camps may believe that we don't need to process anything, we don't need to juice stuff, we don't need to blend stuff, you know, some camps will say that blending is alright, but juicing is bad because you're removing the fiber, which is, you know, you're removing some but not all the fiber depending on what you're juicing. For example, in carrots, you're still keeping about half the fiber because it's soluble fiber that's in the juice. You're removing the insoluble fiber. But nonetheless, you know, I don't know the last time you checked, but we're not living in the Stone Age anymore. We have cars, they have diesel emissions. We're in houses with, you know, different kinds of carpeting that off-gas different kind of chemicals. We're watching our computer screen all day and being attached to blue light. We're sitting at the computer all day. We're not getting exercise. And this is why, oh, and the other thing that's super critical is that the produce that you're buying in the store, if it's conventional or even organic from the store, from big agricultural farms, it's not as nutritious as it used to be because the soils are degraded, in my personal opinion, and based on the research that I've seen. You know, so for these reasons, that's why these machines make a lot of sense to me. In addition, you know, a lot of people especially might not have teeth to digest their food, and in that case, this is the first thing you guys want to get are these two appliances because they break up, especially the leafy green vegetables that you do need to chew, right? We don't have 3 stomachs like a cow to basically extract all the nutrients efficiently out of the greens unless, you know, you've been doing that your whole life. But if you're coming from a standard American diet, for example, like my brother who just eats junk foods and, you know, he eats a salad of lettuce and doesn't chew it that well, you know, it's going to come out whole pieces. His microbiome's not adapt or set up to, you know, properly extract the nutrients from the salads or the greens or other vegetables, especially if they're not chewed properly. So that's why I say I'm a big advocate of chewing your food. You know, every mouthful, chew 20 times, turn it into a mush. That is why we feed babies baby food, and that's why I like the machines. If you don't want to sit there for, like me, for a half hour to an hour each night to eat my, you know, or my lunch, that's where these machines could save you some time. But also, just because you're using these machines, don't think you can just go that stuff down as fast as you can to get in you because it'll be better. Well, it's better than not doing it, but you want to take your time and savor the taste, flavor, swish it around your mouth, make the motion of chewing. Even if you're chewing your juice or even if you're chewing your smoothie, that's already in a fine particle size. This all helps stimulate your digestive system by releasing salivary amylase, by getting your jaw muscles, by having the food contact in with your tongue, and just how the whole digestion process works. So this is essential. And you know, here's the thing. With a blender, it allows you to easily eat more food than you could. I mean, in some cases, maybe I wouldn't necessarily recommend this, but some people will just basically take 10 bananas and a little bit of water and just blend up bananas and water. And now they can smash in 10 bananas simply and easily. Now, I'm not a big advocate of smashing down 10 or 20 bananas in a smoothie jar, or especially if you add extra sugar in there that some raw fooders in the past have done, and hopefully nobody still is doing that or promoting that. But for me, it's about including more greens in my diet. And if these appliances will allow you to get more greens in your diet or more vegetables in your diet, then in my opinion, it's definitely a good thing, because of all Americans on a survey, less than 10% of Americans eat their recommended amount, which is, in my opinion, minuscule and way smaller than it should be, amount of servings of vegetables a day. And unfortunately, they count things like potatoes and ketchup as a serving of vegetables, whereas I think of vegetables as like cabbage or kale or, you know, something even more nutritious like broccoli or cauliflower, right? These are really good. Bok choy, these are good vegetables for us to eat. And you know, for example, the other day, you know, I picked a whole bunch of sting nettles out of my garden. You can see a picture of that on my Instagram. Post a link down below, instagram.com/growingyourgreens. And I basically had a whole big thing of stinging nettles. And I'm not just going to eat the stinging nettles with a salad because that'll like sting your tongue, not so good. But I put that in with a young coconut water, young coconut meat that's fresh, as well as some 6 ounces of wild blueberries, all the stinging nettles and some mint from my garden, and then some vitamin green powder, and then blend that up into a nice, rich, like deep purple, antioxidant-rich smoothie in a vacuum blender, which we'll be talking about in a second, to now get the access to those stinging nettles that honestly I wouldn't have just eaten. And stinging nettles, if I put it in the juicer, it doesn't make a whole lot of juice, so I would not want to do that. I mean, maybe if I have a large quantity of stinging nettles, like unlimited, but I was at the last of my harvest for the season, and I just had a bowl's worth, so I wanted to make sure they get all into me. And so, you know, I wouldn't have eaten them otherwise. I'm sorry, I would not have eaten my stinging nettles if I didn't have a blender. And actually, I use vacuum blending that you'll learn about in a second. So here's the thing. Here's the thing between the difference in the blending and the juicing, right? This allows you to get a 1-to-1 ratio. So for example, if you put in 1 pound of carrots, you blend up 1 pound of carrots with a little water, because carrots aren't going to blend just by their own. You can basically have 1 pound of carrots in there, but meanwhile, if you put in 1 pound of carrots in the juicer, it's going to basically separate the nutrients out from the insoluble fiber, keep the soluble fiber in the juice, and then it's going to allow you to take 1 pound of carrots and literally extract 1 cup of the beneficial nutrients or the juice out of the carrots. Not to say that there's nothing left over in the fiber that's not good and we shouldn't eat it. Sure, if you want to eat it, you could bake it into different goods or whatnot. I press it out even further and get it super dry, and then it goes into my compost to feed my bacteria in my compost to make soil for my garden. That being said, it allows you to concentrate the amount of nutrients, and this is especially important with all the toxins we're being bombarded with on a daily basis. It is shown in science that the different phytonutrients, phytochemicals, even to some extent the soluble fiber that feed our probiotics or our beneficial bacteria microbiome inside of us, create different metabolites and can help protect us from these external toxins. What was I reading the other day? Like a certain food helps us, detox things like heavy metals and whatnot, and different carcinogens and whatnot. It's like totally crazy. And it's like if you're not eating these beneficial foods like the vegetables primarily, then you're not going to get these benefits to help detox you on a continual basis. Because as much as I like to say I live in a house with bamboo floors and no carpeting, and these walls are painted with like low VOC paint, I'm still getting bombarded by toxins just going out and breathing air. And that's why we need these phytonutrients, not to mention that, in this day and age, the apple of today, you might have to eat, 3 apples of today to equal the same nutrition of an apple of like from 1950, for example. And those are just numbers I'm throwing out there, but it's like you got to eat more apples today than you would back then because the soils were not degraded. And that's one of the reasons why you should grow your own food, which I also teach. And that's what I teach you guys. I share my life with you. I share what I've learned in my life to make my life better, but I want to share it with you guys so that you guys could make your life better if you choose. I'm not going to sit here and ram this down your throat. So you got to buy these. I don't care what you guys do, but I'm going to say these guys are essential for my raw foods diet. Another reason is that, if you go on a different kind of therapy, like Gerson therapy for people that are labeled uncurable with many different kinds of diseases, they don't give them blended green smoothies. Actually, they say you got to juice, and actually they even say you got to use a specific juicer to make the juice because that's the only juicer we found that gets results, and they also don't want to change their approach on this. So, because you can literally flood your body with nutrients, and these nutrients are the same nutrients that can help, get toxins out of you, also can help your body heal and play as many different roles in the body to help heal. For example, the anthocyanins in the purple foods, which I strive to eat as many purple foods as possible, have been shown to help people with like obesity and diabetes and blood sugar issues and cardiovascular issues. And it's just totally amazing how these work. And it's really not those products of the anthocyanins, but it's their breakdown components that then literally feed our body. And then if you have the right ingredients, like in a factory, like if you only imported whatever plastic into a car factory, they're not going to make a car because you need steel, you need plastic, you need rubber, you need all these things. And it's like if you don't give your body all the different spectrum of nutrients in fruits and vegetables, right, in the right proportions, then your body won't be able to work effectively. My goal is to have enough nutrients of all the different nutrients out there, and in some cases I would like to have even more than my body needs because I don't know exactly what my body needs, and that's what juicing literally allows me to do. In the case of fruits and vegetable nutrients, in most cases, but not all, it's really hard to overdo your consumption of fruits and vegetables if you're eating a wide variety. Now, I don't recommend juicing like kale every day or spinach every day. It can be high in oxalates, but if you want to rotate those in to your diet, I think they could be fine. So for me, I'll drink a root juice, and actually here it is. I'm drinking my root juice right here. This is a 32-ounce mason jar. I usually fill these up to about 900 milliliters because if I fill it up too high, I can't put a vacuum on the top. So I suck out the air, but that's a whole different video. I'll put a link down below on how I save my juices for up to 5 days. And this allows me literally, in this glass here, I have 4 pounds of mostly root vegetables, including things like carrots, purple carrots, orange carrots, yellow carrots, white carrots. I put parsnips in here that I probably pretty much wouldn't even eat on a raw foods diet. I have beets in here, I have jicama in here, I have ginger in here, I have turmeric in here, I have purple sweet potatoes in here that can be eaten raw, yes, but I probably wouldn't eat those raw if I wasn't juicing them. So this allows me to basically have a greater variety of foods and concentrate them and also make it easy. I don't know if you guys can sit there and eat 4 pounds of all these root vegetables. Maybe if you cooked them you can, because it makes them a lot easier to digest. But I choose not to. I probably could if you put a gun in my head, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to juice it instead, because now I can liberate all the nutrients out of especially the vegetables, and get them into me and enhance my microbiome by having a wider variety of foods that I would eat otherwise if I only ate them raw in their whole form and use my real juicers, my teeth. In addition, I make green juices where I'm able to juice a lot of celery, leafy greens from my garden. I'm making a juice today with like romaine, celery, cucumbers, a lot of greens from my garden, and spinach. And I could literally get my 2 pounds of greens in like one juice. Once again, 1 pound of greens will be 1 cup of juice. You juice 2 pounds of greens. That's literally 2 cups of juice, and that, my goal every day is eat 2 pounds of greens, whatever way I could do it, whether I want to count the juice pounds or the salad pounds, which I eat salads every day as well in general. And it's the vegetable-centered diet that I am promoting. Hey, fruit is great, but you got to make sure you have enough vegetables, and what percentage of vegetables to fruit, I will leave that up to you guys. But I think all fruit diets, and most people into raw foods would agree that all fruit diets are really not that healthy. There's a few people that would disagree with this, but I strongly feel that vegetables are quite important, especially some vegetables, are important for phase 2 enzymes in detoxification that you're literally just not going to get from fruit. In addition, vegetables generally tend to have more mineral content than the fruits have, as well as more phytonutrients and different phytonutrients and phytochemicals as well. And that is why I really love juicing. Now, why do I like blending so much? Like I explained to you guys, you're going to be able to, if you could eat more greens, not necessarily more fruit, because of the blender. I don't usually use my blender to eat more fruit, because I love fruit anyways. I have jackfruit, I have dragon fruit, I have cactus fruit right now, I have, sun gold organic kiwis, I have grapes to eat, I have my amazing chocolate and coffee cake persimmons right now. I have so much different fruits that I don't need to put them in the blender or smash them in. I'm glad you just eat them because they taste so good. But the vegetables, on the other hand, that's why I really like the blending. Of course, if you're a person that just doesn't eat any fruit, I would say yes, blend your fruits. Or in the case when I have fruits, like I have some watermelons and actually some cantaloupes that aren't the highest quality, don't taste super sweet to me. And that's when I'm going to get out probably the juicer to juice my cantaloupes and my watermelons so that I could then get them into me. And they're actually going to taste good, because juicing, once again, concentrates the nutrients, and in the case of fruits, especially if they're not that sweet, it concentrates the sweetness to remove some of the fiber. So at least maybe you're going to enjoy it a little bit more, and this is a big problem that I have with just industrial grown, organic even, fruits mostly that are just not sweet or picked too soon. This allows me to get more of them into me, or actually use some of the produce that I would just pretty much not want to eat if I had to eat it because it just doesn't taste good. The juicer will make it taste better for me and also make it easy and convenient. I'll have juices in my fridge I can just grab and go if I got to be out the door to do something, right? It's a quick and easy meal and allows you to maximize your fruit and vegetable consumption. So meanwhile, the blending, like I said, I like to make the green smoothies in there primarily, and also too, the blender is essential for my meals, my salad meals that I usually eat in the middle of the day now, or my middle meal of the day. It allows me to make soup bases. It allows me to make sauces and dips and spreads. It is completely amazing to give you more variety and more food textures and bust up the food. You know, I'm not a big fan of just shoveling nuts and eating nuts. You're going to overeat the nuts. You don't want to eat too many nuts. You do want to eat some nuts, in my personal opinion. You know, I like to eat one handful a day is my goal. Maybe if I'm really crazy, I'm going to do 2 handfuls that day, but I really try to eat a low amount of nuts. But I believe, due to the research, that nuts can provide a host of different benefits, not only for your microbiome, but also it has been shown that people that eat nuts maybe have lower blood pressure and live longer even, because once again, there's more and different phytonutrients and phytochemicals besides the vitamins, you know, and minerals that are in there containing. And I like to basically create more surface area for my nuts by putting them in the blender, by blowing them open, and it makes nuts a lot easier to digest and digest some of the things that I wouldn't normally. Now, that being said, I know you're thinking, John, okay, I'm convinced that blending and juicing are essential for my raw foods diet or my standard American diet or my plant-based diet, whatever it is. Which one do I get? Because I don't have any. And that's a good question, right? So it depends on your goals, your needs, and more importantly, what are you going to use, right? So, like I said, my brother, he'll use the blender before he uses the juicer. Because why? The blender's fast. You could take some frozen, you know, leafy greens and frozen fruits from Costco or Trader Joe's. You could put them in there with a little coconut water or some fresh squeezed orange juice or whatever. Blend that up and then have a smoothie. And then you just basically rinse the crap out and you're done. And if that gets you to do it, then yes, by all means, get a blender, because that will be more useful for you. But actually, don't just get a blender, get a vacuum blender. I'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But on the other hand, if you're like, John, I don't care how much time it takes, I want to get the maximum health benefit. So in my personal opinion, for maximum health benefit, for most people, in most cases, not all cases, because there will be always exceptions to every rule, I would say the juicer. Because why? People on Gerson therapy only drink juice to heal. They don't go on green smoothies to heal. Many different health retreats and health healing places around the world give juices, not smoothies. In addition, the other main benefit of the juicing is that it happens at a low RPM, so it does not damage the nutrients or the antioxidants and polyphenols and phytochemicals as much as a high-speed blender does, and that's why I only recommend a low-speed juicer. In addition, they're really effective at increasing your vegetable or greens consumption that most people simply do not eat enough of anyways, especially if you want to go on a heavy metal detox diet. You could really crank through a lot of, you know, cilantro through here. That'll get cilantro juice that comes out really clumpy or glumpy. And I think that is a good thing. It allows you to get more beta carotene from the carrots and the farcarinol, the anti-cancer properties of the carrots in you, instead of just eating a couple carrots for anti-cancer properties. That's why the Gerson therapy, you know, they recommend a carrot apple juice. Apples also in the skin basically have anti-cancer properties as well. So, you know, this could literally maximize your nutrition and maximize your intake of these beneficial compounds that can help you detox and heal at the same time. So for me, I would personally get a juicer first before I got a blender if you're going to do it, but I think both of these guys are super essential, so I don't care which one you guys get first. I want you guys to get both of these. You know, I do try to do reviews on this channel where I talk about low-cost blenders. I've had videos on an $85 blender that beat a Vitamix. I have a more recent video on a $55 vacuum blender, and I would rather use that instead of a Vitamix. So, you know, there's some low-budget juicers out there. You could get a brand new juicer from me or a vacuum blender from me at discountjuicers.com, which is appreciated because it allows me to make these videos, share my time with you guys, and actually make the difference in the world that I want to see. But I would say you could also check like Craigslist or OfferUp. I've gotten friends living in different parts of the country even. You know, I got them a good juicer, a good name brand juicer on Craigslist or OfferUp for even like half the price or even 1/3 of the price of a new one. You know, I would recommend you guys stick with a major brand juicer, and I would prefer to buy one of those used before I bought a brand new one off a big box website that, you know, has juicers, you know, inexpensive juicers made in China that may have a short 1-year warranty, or basically, in my opinion, are disposable juicers, because once you get a good name brand juicer like the Omega here, you know, they're solid performers and they're built a lot better than a lot of the cheap Chinese ones. I have a video, I'll post a link below, why I would not buy ACOC or other Chinese juicer, and I talk about some of these things that may come up for you. My personal favorite juicer at this time is the Omega VSJ843. I know there are other raw food YouTubers, Fully Raw Christina, that promote the Nama juicer and other different juicers. I made a video with comparing the NAMA to the VSJ Port 3. I'll put a link down below to that video so you guys could see the outcome. And basically the outcome was that the NAMA did make more juice by that much, maybe 10% more juice if my memory serves me correctly. But the issue was it took me twice as long to juice and longer to clean. And it was just more of a hassle overall to use. And if it's going to be twice as long to the juicing process, you're less likely to do it, even if it makes a little bit more yield. So I'd rather give up and sacrifice a little bit of yield for a lot easier to use because you're going to be more compliant and do it more often. So that's super critical. And I know a lot of different raw food people that have been into it for a long time. Lou Corona, Fully Raw Christina, John Rose, some of the more successful people that have been eating raw foods, Dan McDonald, they all encourage juicing as part, but not all, of your raw foods diet. If you want to be convinced more about the benefits of juicing and see how just juicing alone could turn around your health, I want you guys to look up a documentary called Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead by Joe Cross. Maybe on Netflix, it's probably on YouTube you guys could watch, or different, streaming services. It is quite amazing what can happen by just flooding your body with the phytonutrients, vitamins, and minerals in the fruits and vegetables, and that's why the juicing is my first choice. And if you want to juice a wide variety of things like I do, I juice fruits sometimes, I juice a lot of leafy greens and vegetables too. That's why I like the vertical style juicers, and the VSJ is my favorite one at this time because it performs generally better and gives you less issues if you're using it properly. If you want to focus on just juicing greens and not juice fruit, then I'd recommend a horizontal auger juicer such as the NC800 or the NC900 HDSS that we currently have in stock, or the 8007 model, which would be a horizontal motor best for juicing the leafy green vegetables and things like wheatgrass. Now, if you want to juice straight fruit and nothing but the fruit, then actually I would honestly recommend getting a press style machine like the old-fashioned cider presses or grape presses, because those juice fruit the best. I'm not a fan. I know some people into raw foods promote a fruit juice diet for healing and detoxification. I am definitely not a fan of fruit only juice fasts. I believe you will be missing nutrients, although they can be beneficial for a while, and still, I'd rather drink fruit juice fast versus McDonald's diet, but I think the vegetables are really key. So for those people that are into that, then the press style machine, the old-fashioned cider presses, or we sell the pure juicer, which is basically a juice press. You grind up everything, then you press out in a press cloth, and those will better deal with soft fruits that will literally mush up and make more of an applesauce, for example, if you're juicing soft apples in a vertical juicer. But aside from the press, if you want to get second best, then I'd say go with the VSJ. That's the best juicer for fruit that I've had, and make sure you select the most hard and firm fruits for juicing. All right, next to my recommendations on a blender. For the longest time, actually this is my very Vitamix that I've been having for a long time. I recommended the Vitamix brand because the Vitamix, as you guys know who are into raw foods, they have sharp blades, they just work really well, they fractionate things up really good, and that's a pro, but also it's a con, because in probably about I don't even know how many years ago now, but I learned about vacuum blending. And the reason why I've always had a problem with blending is because the multiple hits on the produce. This blade is running at 200 miles per hour or whatever, if you want to convert it up. And every time it hits the produce and breaks it into a smaller particle size, it introduces oxygen. If you look at the middle of the blender, there's a little funnel cloud in there. And that funnel is sucking air into your mixture and oxygenating. You start off blending, 6 cups of whatever you put in there, and then you're done, you have 6.5 cups. You didn't just magically create food, you added a lot of air into your blended smoothie. And Vitamix and companies like Blendtec know this, because literally in Blendtec, for example, you can destroy your iPhone in the Blendtec blender into a million little pieces. They are the best destroyers of iPhones as well as nutrients in the entire world, right? Because they work a lot faster than our teeth or a juicer such as the VSJ that works at 43 revolutions per minute. That's a lot slower. Now, I'm glad that technologies came out of Japan to do what's called vacuum blending. When I first learned about it, what they do is there's a pump that basically sucks the extra oxygen out of the carafe before you blend. So now you're blending in an oxygen-deprived environment, despite the 200-mile-an-hour blades. In an oxygen-deprived environment, oxidation and other phytonutrients that are beneficial for our health, in my opinion, cannot be oxidized or get converted or go away. Now you might think I could just put some lemon in there and prevent the oxidation. Yes, putting a lemon in there will prevent some oxidation, but not the level of oxidation that using a vacuum blender would, and you're still going to have the issue with all the air bubbles and poor storability. So that's why I'm not a fan of just standard blending in a Vitamix anymore. So I'm glad to say probably about a year or more ago, I was able to find a solution, the only solution that is being sold today, that you can turn your Vitamix into a vacuum blender. So this is a Vitamix carafe, and what we have here is a carafe that looks very similar, but this is the BioChef carafe that was actually made for the BioChef Living Foods blender, but I found that it actually fit on the Vitamix. So I asked the manufacturer, like, hey, can you guys sell me the blender carafe separately, as well as the pump that you basically put on top of the blender carafe? This is not the right lid. You have a different lid that basically you could put this pump on, and now before you blend, you suck out all the extra oxygen out of the carafe, and now you blend in an oxygen-deprived environment. Your food doesn't turn brown as fast. You preserve up to 3 times of some of the different polyphenols. You preserve more vitamin C and more of the different nutrients that are more damaged by the oxidative damage, which are the essential nutrients, in my opinion, for detoxification and healing at the same time. People don't understand this. They've used their Vitamix for so long and they don't understand the fact, John, it doesn't make a difference. This gadget, this gizmo, I don't need it, man. It's junk. Well, here's the thing. I had good friends that have been into raw foods for a long time. Some of them accepted that when I told them about the benefits of doing this, they said, okay, John, I want one. I'm going to get it. I trust you. They trust me. That's great. I love when my friends trust me. Other friends like, no, I don't really believe that. That's not going to make a difference. And then once I finally, one of my friends who is a long-term raw foodist, I had to let them borrow my vacuum blender so that they'd actually try, because they're pretty tight and they're not going to buy one. I let them borrow it, and then they started using it, even if it's not a Vitamix, right? They saw significant benefits to doing it, like, oh my God, I made our dressing and it lasted a week. I made a dressing, this day, and I ate it 4 days later. It tasted better than Vitamix would the next day or even the day it was made, right? This is incredible, right? And the thing people don't realize that when you blend your Vitamix carafe, right, you're oxidizing the antioxidants. So number one, they're not there for you when you eat the food. You're going to add extra air, which may give you extra gas and bloating. When you do in a vacuum, you're pulling out all the extra oxygen, so there's not going to be as much dissolved air into your smoothie. Also, the flavor will be stronger. It'll have better flavor because you're oxidizing the flavors or the phytonutrients that basically give your blender the flavors. So like my mint smoothies taste more minty, even though I use the same exact recipe and same amount of mint, right? The colors are also better if you're an Instagrammer and want to take good pictures that look a lot nicer, a lot more vibrant colors instead of the ruddy colors that the Vitamix will get because of the oxidative damage that's occurring, right? It's totally incredible that the vacuum blending technology does this, and I'm probably like one of the only raw fooders that really try to promote this because I know the difference it can make. And I know a lot of you guys that haven't done the vacuum blending yet might not believe it. I mean, I made videos just to make a video and showing you guys how to get a $55 vacuum blender that I know some of you guys bought. And I know you guys, after using it for a while, you guys taste the difference it does make. There is a difference. Oh, and the other thing I was mentioning earlier is that there's going to be more phytonutrients in your vacuum blended smoothies, so that even after you store the smoothie, even up to 24 hours later, there's like could be 52 times more phytonutrients in there because they weren't all oxidized, and now those phytonutrients in the smoothie are there to protect the smoothie from further oxidation should you store it. Plus, I always also want you guys to store it in a vacuum as well. So this is critical. So the BioChef, this is a solution that is available now. I'm not the super hugest fan of it. I'm glad that people with Vitamixes can now vacuum blend with this solution, and this is available on the discountjuicers.com website. I've made several videos using this. In addition, you guys can use a carafe and a vacuum pump to vacuum store your mason jars. I have a link below to the video about that. I'll also have a video below to the link on vacuum blending with your Vitamix. Now the cool thing that's coming out really soon, right now, if I can move all these aside, is this guy right here. Now this is the Blendtec carafe. So Blendtec, unlike Vitamix, I'm not aware that Vitamix is actually working on a vacuum blender, a stock component made by Vitamix to vacuum blend in your Vitamix. I don't know if they're doing that or not, but I know Blendtec, and I have been personally working with Blendtec and told them about vacuum blending when at first the owner of Blendtec, Tom Dixon, who's on the Will It Blend series, he didn't quite get what I was saying, but now once he created one for his Blendtec and his work with me to refine it and make it even better, he's convinced that vacuum blending does make a difference. His wife will not vacuum blend anymore. Even him, the owner of Blendtec, will not blend without vacuum anymore because he knows the difference it makes. And even in blending grains, even in blending your smoothies, even in blending his celery juice that he makes, by blending the celery first and then straining it out, right? It does make a difference. So Blendtec will be coming out in probably just the next month or two, their solution for a Blendtec vacuum blender solution for the Vitamix and also for the Blendtec blenders, right? So this will be a separate purchase. You'll have to purchase separately. At present time, the estimated price is $300, $299. At current time, the BioChef solution is $179. So you gotta ask yourself, John, is the Blendtec solution that, look at this. This fits on the Vitamix. This is the crap that fits on the Vitamix. And this is the commercial vacuum system by Blendtec. I'm probably the first in the world, aside from people that work in the company, to have this. And it's totally amazing. So what you get with this is you get the standard carafe. They've redesigned the lid here to have a special durometer and special gasket so it does not allow air in. And the other cool thing about using a Blendtec on top of the Vitamix is that the Blendtec was never designed to use a tamper. They thought tampers are stupid. They thought, we're going to just make a blender that doesn't need a tamper. It has a wing tip blade in there. So this is the ideal blender for vacuum blending because under vacuum you can no longer use your tamper. And due to the shape of these crafts, which are tall and narrow, it does not allow things, if you don't have enough liquid in there, to drop into the blades. Whereas the Blendtec, because of its propeller blade, is basically a vacuum blender from this time it's been designed, because they designed it to work without a tamper. So this is a huge benefit of the Blendtec, and why at present time this is my favorite vacuum blending solution out there, right? So how this works is you put this on there, and another reason why it's my favorite vacuum blending solution is, you know, this looks like a standard blender, and then you can have this component off to the side, and you put this on, and this sucks the vacuum out of the carafe. So unlike the pump on this one, you know, this pump pumps out the excess oxygen before you blend, and then you remove this, and then you could blend. Meanwhile, the Blendtec vacuum option keeps a vacuum on the entire time you're blending. So this little pump is running, and it even pulls a stronger vacuum than this guy right here. In addition, the carafe is more beneficial because it allows things to drop down easier. And when you're blending, even if you pull a vacuum at first, there still may be a few air bubbles left in there, and as you're blending, they basically come up. This blender will instantly pull the extra air out as well. So this is definitely the ideal vacuum blending solution. Now, there is one still issue with the Blendtec that I haven't liked from the get-go, is that they have they like to advertise a dull blade, and they've had a dull blade forever. And for people into raw food specifically, maybe if you're into blending grains, this is definitely not applied because you actually want a blunt blade. For people into raw foods, that especially coming from a Vitamix, that get a fine particle size, you know, even the BioChef carafe, people that have owned a Vitamix forever get the BioChef carafe, says, John, the particle size is not as small as my Vitamix. I don't like this one. And you know, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. For me, I'd much rather have a little bit larger particle size and sacrifice a little bit larger particle size for vacuum blending, because, you know, it's more important to me to preserve more of the phytonutrients than get that smaller particle size that you may be used to. And most people, I think 99.9% of people that get the BioChef, even after determining that it doesn't grind as fine of a particle size, which I denote in my original video I made about it, are happy with it because they see the difference vacuum blending can make. Now, the issue with the Blendtec is the unsharpened stock carafe that comes with it, you know, leaves even a larger particle size than the BioChef carafe. That being said, I'm working closely with Blendtec, and I don't think this sample is it, but I have a sample, another carafe sample that actually has a sharpened Blendtec blade. And if this is to come out, which I'm not exactly sure, it will only be offered through me because the owner of Blendtec knows that I'm, you know, I say a lot and teach a lot to the people in the raw food community that really want a small fractionated particle size, and especially turn their dressings into nice cream instead of a nice dressing that has nice big chunks of stuff, because it's not being blended up as finely because of the dull blade. Of course, some people, I mean, here's the thing. Most people will probably be fine with the dull blade on the Blendtec vacuum solution. You know, for us fine connoisseurs that have done this a while, and for me that I've been blending now for 25 years, juicing for 25 years straight, and even I got into juicing when I was a little kid, when I was even younger, because my parents had a juicer. You know, you want the best, and that's why I would say wait for the Blendtec vacuum solution if money is no object. Now, if you're saying, John, $120 for this solution over this solution, I don't know, the money's tight, I'd say get something so you can vacuum blend. I mean, I even have videos on how I turned a NutriBullet, and I'll post a link down below that video, for $20 into a vacuum blender. I want you guys to vacuum blend. That is so critical, especially if you guys are into doing this for your health. Now, if you're just making margaritas all day, you know, don't even bother getting a vacuum blender. Save your money. But if you're blending things like berries, if you're blending things like leafy greens, right? If you don't want your bananas to oxidize as much when you blend them up, because they turn brown really fast. If I make a banana smoothie, which I've done hundreds of times over the years without a vacuum blender, and I drink most of it, but I made too much and I have that much left over, I let it sit out a couple 4 hours. I go back to drink it 4 hours later. You drink it, you're like, oh my God, this tastes horrible. And you almost don't want to drink it, but you're like, man, I don't want to waste the food, so you drink it anyways, right? Even after 4 hours of vacuum blending bananas, it's going to taste a lot better than even after it comes straight out of a Vitamix without a vacuum blender or traditional blending. So, you know, that's pretty much it for this episode. I really want to share the benefits of the slow juicing and the vacuum blending and the blending with you, and how it can allow you to maximize your phytonutrient consumption from especially the leafy green vegetables, the vegetables, as well as the fruits, right? Super imperative, super critical, top 2 appliances. If you're interested in learning about different appliances or kitchen items that'll be helpful for you guys on our raw foods diet, click the link down below, because aside from these, there are many different other kitchen gadgets and tools that I like. You may not need to get all of them, but I am a gadget guru, or I don't know, however you want to call that. You know, I have things like food processors and dehydrators, which I would say are not as important as these 2 staple appliances for you guys to get, so you guys can be successful on our raw foods, standard diet even, or plant-based diet, whatever diet you guys are on. Increase your fruits and vegetables, guys, and these appliances allow you to do that. If you guys enjoyed this content, enjoyed this video, please support me in my work by making your juicer or blender purchase at discountjuicers.com. Also, be sure to follow and check out my other YouTube channel, simply called youtube.com/rawfoods, or my Discount Juicers channel. Put a link down below in the description to that. Over 600 videos comparing and contrasting all the different major brand juicers so that you guys can select the right one for you. These appliances are critical to my lifestyle, and I don't know how I would do this lifestyle to the extent and to the level that I have done without them. So if you guys enjoy this video, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Also, please be sure to share this video with other people into raw foods, plant-based diet, or even just standard American diet eaters that want to eat healthier. You know, I like to think that I'm at the cutting edge of the technologies to allow you to eat more fruits and vegetables. And I like to share this with you because I know it can make a difference in your life, from the hundreds of thousands of testimonials that I've gotten over the many years that I've been in business selling the juicers and the blenders, and how it has changed people's lives. It is just critical in this day and age, with all the craziness going on in the world, all the chemicals and toxins going on in the world, and more coming at us all the day, and to increase our immune system with some of these beneficial compounds from the fruits and vegetables. These appliances are essential. So I encourage you guys to get one today wherever you guys get them. Also, if you guys like this video, please be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss out on my new upcoming episodes. I've coming out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge, more content on eating a raw foods, plant-based diet than anybody out there. You know, I have more hours of content that I've generated over the last 10, 11 years that I've been making the videos on YouTube. So I hope you guys appreciate it. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time. And until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables and even drinking them. They're the best.